Okay, here we are back at it again. So far right now in this particular room, that just means me standing here alone. Yeah, that's right. Kind of used to it that way. And you know what? I'm okay with it. When I say I'm okay with it, I mean I'm okay with it. Sorry if the levels seem to be moving around a little bit. I'm doing some adjustments. There, look at that. I am fully adjusted. All right, here we'll back that down a little bit. Okay, I better introduce myself again. This is the channel, No Revolution. Still working on the website. In other words, I haven't done shit with it. I got pulled into a side project, starting a new venture. Has everything to do with art incorporated with physical labor. Kind of like it. Yep. Anyway, but that's been taking up an awful lot of my time in the last month and a half, really, and it's going well. I'm excited as to where this can take things, but that's not the point of this particular podcast. We're going to get right into it. Podcast, whatever YouTube thing, I don't know what I'm going to call this. No Revolution. The whole purpose of this channel and my being on here to begin with is to get people to understand some pretty important things. And in a time like what we're dealing with right now, I live very close to a city that is on fire. And some of my close acquaintances and friends, dear friends of mine, are homeless now because people have burnt down their places of occupancy. There were homeless acquaintances of mine that also, to begin with, they were homeless, but now they don't have the places that they used to be able to safely hang in because those have been burnt to the ground. Effective, isn't it? It's the purpose of why, and after a small conversation with one of my friends, I said, you really need to address this. And I honestly, I didn't want to. I'm kind of fed up with it. I'm fed up with the base pushback that I get from most people in the ideas that I put forth. The automatic knee-jerk reaction of always looking to some type of authority in order to get shit figured out. There's a lot of people that are always about, well, you know, they deal in hypotheticals that are completely fucking retarded, and I have no problem, you know, calling them out on it. But it is, because there's no consistency. There's mass hypocrisy, and, we'll get into that as far as just, I mean, it's so stupid. We'll get right to it. We're dealing with protests, which, okay, protests, whatever. We'll deal with these things one-on-one. We're dealing with riots. We're dealing with thievery. We're dealing with brutality. We're dealing with a lot of different subjects. And at the core of it, and I'm going to lay it right at the feet right immediately, it's all your own fault. That's all there is to it. I don't care what your excuses are. You have none. Not in my eyes. And it's not like I haven't been talking about this stuff for quite some time amongst a lot of other people. If you're new to the channel, then, hats off to you. And this isn't a necessarily personal attack, but I hope you take it that way. I really do. Because you need to rethink the entire paradigm structure of how you've been living and why you've been living that way, and your comfort zone and why it edifies how you choose to live the way that you do. Because I can guarantee that you as a person, as an individual, are so filled with apathy that you really couldn't give a shit about what other people go through until you're going through it yourself. And I'll dive right into one aspect of that. I live just south of Minneapolis. Place is in a state of retardation, pretty severe on a lot of different areas. Now it's just physical retardation. It's burning itself to the ground. Parts of it anyway. But it was just as retarded a month ago, 2 months ago, 10 years ago. And you know why? Because of you. That's all there is to it. This is what happens. And it's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. I hope, if nothing else, this conversation is going to force you to rethink why things become why they get played out the way that they do. If you go upstream of the rapids far enough, you're going to find that every river, no matter which way it goes, has a headwaters. It's a lot of energy. So we'll look at it that way. At the headwaters of this, what is there? There's people, all right? And just like any river, all right, it can run whatever direction it goes, and it has a tendency to follow the path of least resistance. Actually, it is by nature following the path of least resistance. And I want you to understand that that's what you, as a human, have been doing. You've done the same exact thing. You get to a pond, get to a lake, and there's a river that runs out of it. That river will create its own pathway, not because it can choose to. See, you as a human, you could choose a different path, but you choose not to. You become a river. You become a river of humanity that just keeps flowing the same way. And it not only flows the same way, it etches into the annals of history the path that all the people behind it are going to take, just like a river. As soon as the river hits a rock bed, that first initial little trickle stream, it starts running downhill through gravity. Now, you can't fight gravity. I understand that. Not a problem. You're not going to usually be able to get water to run uphill. There are ways to have that happen, but we're going to stay out of the physics part right now because this is going to be more than enough for you to handle at one point in time. Not saying that you couldn't. Totally different discussion. But it carves its way into the softer earth where it can find it, the weak earth. Now, there's reasons that there is weak earth. Okay, weak earth is useful for a lot of things. It's where fresh things can grow, fresh ideas, new things, new ideas, new trees, new plants, new this, that, all sorts of things. We need weak earth. When it comes to systems of power, we need bedrock. And what happens is the river hits bedrock and then it turns in the direction of the weakest point of opposition. Now, granted, a river is going to do what it's going to be doing, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have a whole lot of bedrock left in humanity. And I'd say it's mostly gone. There's been a slight uprising in bedrock types, but it's so minimal because the pushback is huge. Confirmation bias, not being able to get down to the core of things, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to stay with this whole concept of humanity starts out as a lake, then a river starts to flow, and then other people just flow behind it, and nobody stops to think, hey, where the hell is this river going? Or because maybe they're comfortable on it, and I can see why, because everybody else is doing it. They're just following that same path of least resistance. Well, this is where it gets you. So for all the people who are pissed off at how things have gone and the unjustness of it, well, you're part of the problem. You always have been. All right, that's a guarantee. Because you're not speaking out against anything, at least the powers that be, in an effective way at all. Because the change doesn't come from expecting other people to change. The change has to come from inside you. And that's all there is to it. It's called personal responsibility for your own thoughts, for your own actions, et cetera, for your own property, and allowing that to be fully in the hands of other individuals, not partially. Because I can guarantee you, if you support the military, if you support the government, if you support a state system, if you support the police, if you support any of those types of things, you are refusing the average person to be fully responsible for their own property, for their own person, and for their own families, et cetera, for their own thoughts even. Because in supporting the external powers that be, in saying, oh, we need these things, what you are implicitly doing and complicitly doing is telling every other individual that you're too fucking stupid to take care of your own shit. And I won't let you do it. I think there's a better way. I think someone else needs to tell you how to make that happen. And so you support these other systems. Now, when it comes to military, people are, oh, we need this, we need that. Okay, well, how many times has the military actually been right in what its actions have done? I'm not talking even about the individual little soldiers running around doing their own soldier thing and all that type of stuff, but they're just doing what they're told because that's what they've been trained to do, and that's what they think they have to do. And actually, it's what they do have to do if they choose to sign up for it, but it was their choice to sign up for it. So the little guard dog has to go run around doing what it's doing, otherwise it's going to get shocked or killed. All right, but that was a choice. That was a personal choice to go do something fucking stupid just because some other idiot told you to, without thinking about whether or not it was right. Now, on top of that, public schools. That's where a lot of it starts, too. Well, we get trained right there. Might makes right, authoritarian figures, et cetera, et cetera. I can keep on going down the list, and I can tell, right, as soon as I say something about, military or talk bad about any of these things, well, that's fucking, you just want to shut the channel off. Just shut me down. Okay, yeah, yep. By me instigating a feeling in you that you want to turn me off, it means that it's true. It means that there's something down deep underneath that bugs you about what I have to say. And it's fucking confirmation bias. It's the programming. Because here's a fact. Until you were told to go hate someone else, or that someone else did something to someone else, if you had just been living your little life without a television, without a president, without a Congress, without a government telling you who to hate and who not to hate, you didn't even know those motherfucking people existed because you never met them. But then you got on a fucking plane and went over and got into a war with them. They didn't get into a war with you. And if you're dumb enough to fucking think that, they attacked us in 9/11, if you're that stupid still, I don't know what to do with you. Other than maybe hope that these riots actually burn your fucking house down. Because that's just... It's at this point in time in humanity, this is no longer a time to be able to use the excuse, I didn't know. Because I can guarantee you've been spending time drinking beer, you've been spending time out at the range, you've been spending time jogging, you've been spending time at the gym, you've been spending time doing every fucking thing except for exploring philosophy. That's a fact. Learn how to think. Learn how to come at any subject with a truly open and curious mind. But you haven't. You've spent your time doing everything else other than that. It's not my fault, but I'm going to hold you responsible. And in this situation that we're dealing with right here, we are in an interesting point because the very same people that say we need the police, we need these systems, we have to have them, are finding out very quickly that, guess what? You're just retarded. Because when something goes off the cuff, when something goes that you didn't expect and you didn't see coming, or maybe it was orchestrated, which I do personally believe it was, but that's my personal belief, and I don't have all my ducks in a row to be able to prove it yet, but I'm not really worried about that because we're dealing with effects now, because we're too stupid to try and cut these things off at the pass. Remember the old Westerns, Well, head them off at the pass. Well, people don't do that in their lives. They fucking wait till the town gang comes in with their horses and all that, and then what do? They cower and they get shot, and their wives get raped, and their children get murdered, and all that other type of stuff. And they wait for the cavalry to come in, and then the cavalry, by the time the fucking cavalry gets there, the whole town's burnt to the fucking ground. Oh, and then supposedly some hero comes by, but guess what? That's not how life works. And all you got to do is take a look at Minneapolis right now to figure that out. It don't work that way. So the beloved police force that you think is there to serve and protect you, because it's not. It's there as a basically 99% of what it does, and on an individual level, hey, thanks for the 1% of time that gets spent doing something useful. But the other 99% of time, you're a confiscation racket. You're taking property from people, and you're ineffective. You're not there before crime happens. You're there after it happens. Oh, what the fuck is that worth? Nothing at the time. All right. And even afterwards, nothing. But if you want to fix the situation, get a little more proactive, take the gloves off, people. All right. Here's a fact. If you go back far enough with all of these things, you go upstream far enough, at the crux of everything right here, right now, that we are dealing with. Personal responsibility and freedom. If you want maximum freedom, that means maximum responsibility. If we all lived that way and understood the concept of what that means, philosophically, just run it through your fucking brain. Ain't gonna hurt you. I don't have a gun to your head telling you have to do these things. But let's take a look at it. Right now, people are talking about riots, talking about looting, talking about protesters, talking about the differences between them. Okay, talking about police, brutality, all that type of stuff. Well, if we lived in a more free society, you know what the police would be? They'd be for hire. They wouldn't be unionized thugs. There wouldn't be any of them in there. Couldn't exist. All right? There wouldn't be the need for them. They'd be effective, and they'd only be there when you want them, when you call for them, and for specific things, like the fire department, that type of stuff. Not a bad idea. All right? And why would they need to be carrying weapons all the time? Because the fact of it is, it doesn't help. And you want proof? For all the liberals out there, and I'm not saying I'm conservative or liberal. I'm way off the fucking charts of either one of those. But if you want proof, all you have to do is live in certain areas of Minneapolis right now. They didn't protect shit. And they can't. Here's a fact. And one of my buddies just brought this up here recently. Excuse me, I'm snorting. I got a little bit of snot in my nose. I'm snorting. That sounded like I might be doing a line of blow. Not the case. Anyway, one of my buddies brought up the fact that South Central, when that burned a long time ago, that was doing the same shit. There's only a few city blocks. It wasn't that huge. They brought in all the police. They brought in the National Guard. They brought in all sorts of reinforcements. And you know what? Couldn't do a damn thing. Too many people. The only way you would have been able to stop that situation is if you would have basically kind of firebombed the whole goddamn place. Like nuke the whole place, napalm the whole thing. I mean, just wipe the citizenry off the earth. Which is not against the government's idea, quite honestly. You know, hey, this is what we do when you get too far out of line. Proof of it can happen. They do it to other countries. You think they wouldn't do it to you? Are you retarded? There's too many people. It doesn't work. So all the people that sit there and say nobody should be able to carry guns, nobody should be able to shoot one another to protect your own property, well, guess what? When someone shows up at your house, decides to kill you for your television, for your cell phones, for your own stuff, or for your business, just decides to loot your business, you can't do anything about it. You know why? Because when it comes to government, law enforcement, you shoot the person that transgresses against you, you kill them, you defend your property with deadly force because that's what they were willing to use against you to gain your property, you're the one going to get punished. Yeah, that's right. That's how it works. And it's purposely set up that way. So that brings me to the first point. There's two of them that I want to really make very clear about this whole situation. And that's the difference between the rioters and looters. And I kind of clump them in one. And the protesters. And how useless both of them are. For whatever reason, it doesn't make any difference. Excuse me, now I got the hiccups. Looks like I'm getting a little worked up here. Little worked up. Yeah. Anyway, so if you really, really want change, if you want effective change, all right, in this situation, because let's talk about this particular situation. We can't just stop in abstract ideals. Oh, well, you're going to have to eventually deal with abstract ideals because in our present situation, the police can't defend your property. That's a fact. All right. And so far, what they've been doing more effectively than anything is locking up and locking down the people who, my phone's ringing in the background. They're locking down people who aren't trying to go out and transgress against others. All right. Our city where I'm at right now, we're on a curfew. If I get out on the fucking road right now and just decide to go for a goddamn drive, come back from my shop a little late, et cetera, just stated right there, could be up to $1,000 fine or time in jail. For doing what? Literally, for doing what? For going about my business, adding value to society, fixing other people's stuff. That's what I do. And I'm going to get the threat of force against me from government. Oh, it's for your protection. Fuck you. It is not for my protection because you couldn't protect my shit anyway. Because if looters decided to come to my shop and take all my shit, it's not for my protection. It's for my punishment. Instead of allowing me to stay there and defend my stuff and to make sure that everything that I've worked for doesn't get stolen, nope. You have to go lock yourself in your home. And that's how it's been. Now, they haven't come to this particular area of the neighborhood down this far. Thankful so far, but I would expect that they do, and I kind of hope they do. But the fact of it is even so, I can't protect anything at my house either. So, for my own protection? No, that's not how it works. And you're not allowed to. So you stay enslaved. That's how it is. And don't talk to me about, oh, it's not okay to be enslaved. Fuck off. Yeah, it's what it is. It's what it is. Because I'm not free to defend, well, number one, I don't have true freedom of speech. And number two, I'm not allowed to defend myself or my property. So property rights don't exist either. Because in the very end of things, when it comes right down to it, if someone tries to steal the shit out of my shop, break through the windows and doors and all that happy stuff and just start looting, if I decide to defend myself and a shootout incurs, or in my case, I just reach out and touch someone, if I kill them because they're trying to kill me, or in the altercation of defending my property, I'm the one who is going to get charged with something. Because the looter is going to be dead on the floor, or maybe I get killed. Yeah, either way. Either way, I lose. If the looter doesn't leave, or if one of them gets shot and the rest of them run off, I'm still the one getting charged. But I'm not the one that instigated the situation. You know, everybody wants to wonder, oh, how do you avoid it? How do you avoid it? Okay, well, it's real fucking easy. You get government out of the way. Completely. Absolutely completely. I mean, when it comes down to this, in this particular situation, plenty of facts have been coming out about the guy that got killed. All right. Is the way he got killed good? No, not at all. But it's also exactly what you voted for and exactly what you keep using, you know, on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't make any difference. You can't expect a system to give you shit and give you more rights, you know, for, you know, coming from the black point of view, or at least the way the mainstream media portrays it. But you can't expect a system to give you equality when the system is there to brutalize you at the same time. Because that's a big part of what you're talking about is this racist, you know, police force and all that other type of stuff. So what if it is? All right, even if it is, what's the fucking difference? Because a huge chunk of you are demanding things from the same system, you know, and when I say system, the government system, the whole state power authority system. You're demanding things from that, while at the same time, I mean, it's like that whole thing. There's even a scripture in the Bible about not having the left hand know what the right hand is doing, or some stupid shit. And it's funny because on one, say the left hand's the police force, all right, but then you're going to go petition the government, and this is where we get into the protesters. You're going to petition the government for change. Okay, so you go to the right hand. And you say, hey, I want you to change. Okay. Because on the left hand, you know, the government being the body is attached to this brutal police force. And at the same time, it's kind of like, wait a second. Don't you realize it's part of the same body? It's the same shit. If it wasn't meant to be brutal and used in all the wrong enforcement ways, you know, and basically terrorize citizenry, if that's not what it was meant to be, don't you fucking think it would be something different? Are you that stupid? Really? That stupid? That dumb? All right, you take a look at, again, over 90% of what the people in those systems, what they spend their time doing, okay? It's not helping people. It's not. All right? And again, you want proof of it? When you're needed most to protect and to serve and whatever, where the fuck are you? You weren't able to. You weren't able to do it effectively. You know why? Because you can't. Because it's broken. Because it doesn't work and it's not what it was meant to do to begin with. Instead, you're telling people and you're enforcing it, go to bed at 8 or get home at 8. Don't be out on a front porch on your own property, or we're gonna shoot you. Okay, whether it be with rubber bolts or paintballs or real live ammunition, really, what the fuck difference does it make? Because it's about do what you're fucking told. It doesn't matter what the law says. No, bunch of pit bulls. Now, good on you, and I'll pass the buck on that whole thing, saying, oh, okay, you didn't sign up for it. I don't care what you signed up for. You're part of it, motherfuckers. Go figure it out. And now we're going to come over to the other side, the victim side. All right, and I'm still going to get to the two main points, but that's going to take a little while. On the other side, okay, what do you expect? Honestly, what do you expect? You know, as a culture, you want to run around, beat the shit out of things, be a big fucking man, shoot people, join a gang, do whatever. All right. There's plenty of places I know particularly I wouldn't choose to hang out. You know why? Because I know what it's like to be a lion in a pack of hyenas. All right? That's how it works. And I've got shit. And you're going to want to take that shit because you decide that, it's not worth working for it. It's not worth making it happen for yourselves, adding value. Now, I understand all the reasons and excuses, and you're not going to like them. Okay? Because it comes back to you personally. All right? And it comes back to how to be ineffective and that you bought into it. All right? Now, I'm also going to tell you, you're trained that way. All right? You're trained that way by the self-same government that you're bitching about now. But what's funny is that you want that government to change, and you think you can change it. Because if you thought it could be done any other way, you wouldn't be doing it the way you are. But you are. Well, that's kind of insane too. All right? And this comes on both sides of it, racially, all the way across the board, white and black. That's the main issue going on in a lot of people's heads. Well, hey, guess what, white people? It's part of the problem. All right? Because you don't want to take personal responsibility either. And guess what, people? Black people? You're part of the problem. Because you don't want to take personal responsibility for it either. All right? None of you do. You all want to point at government and say, you need to fix this. Instead of you people. When I say you people, I mean both black and white people. All y'all. All y'all is the one from Georgia. You're all looking for someone else to come in and save your shit from yourself. And it ain't going to happen. It's not. It's part of a system. It was designed this way. And it was meant to be this way. And it was meant to cause these divisions. It was meant to keep this shit going. Because if it was meant to do something else, we would have something different at this point. This isn't the first time this has happened. It's not going to be the last time it happens. And it's just a bunch of useful idiots doing stupid shit. And that's what you're doing. Now, could I convince you to think otherwise? I'm not even trying. I'm just telling it how it is. So when it comes down to personal responsibility, what I really mean by that, and we'll get into the two main points right here, right now. This is that differentiation between the rioters and the looters, the violence, people willing to be violent. All right. And then the protesters. So we're going to start with the protesters first. When you protest peacefully, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I don't really care. But when you protest, what you're showing is that you're petitioning for change en masse. You're trying to change a system that exists. Okay? You're petitioning a system. In other words, you are bowing before an existing system instead of recreating a new one. And nobody seems to want to understand that huge differentiation. Now, does it mean that it can't change certain things? It can. I mean, that's a given. There are plenty of times when protests and different types of petitioning have worked in the past, and they're going to continue to work in the future. But if they brought actual change, lasting change, and real change, guess what? We wouldn't have the situation that we are in right now. I'm old enough to know, and young enough to know too, because I've been in plenty of protests myself. I I've gone to some of the dumbest fucking protest riots and all that type of stuff and put my fist in the air and thrown shit around and done dumb things. For causes I didn't even know. I had no idea. I just knew there was one going on because I just decided, fuck it, I'm going to go get in the mix. Just get in the mix for the experience, nothing else. I was laughing 90% of the time. Bunch of weak-minded motherfuckers. Anyway, got thrown a paddy wagon a few times too. That's fun. You know, old zip ties. There's ways to break those fuckers. Pretty easy too. Anyway, it's not that difficult to figure out what charges people and why they get charged up and all that other type of crap. But anyway, point being, protests. You're petitioning, all right? You're saying, oh, we will not tolerate this. You must change, okay? Well, are you that dumb? I mean, really? Like, even in interpersonal relationships, how about husbands and wives or parents and children? You know, friends even. If there's lifelong friends you've had, maybe you've figured out a way to work it, but how often and how effective is it to bluntly go up to someone that you say you're in love with or they're in love with you, and they come up to you and they say, I expect you to change because I'm upset about X. Okay. Does that work? Has it ever fucking worked? I mean, really, stop and think about it. You know, the only way that I've ever seen changes happen, even in personal relationships between people that say they love one another, is there has to be some dialogue, but there's got to be trust. And there's got to be, behind that trust, there's got to be consistency. All right, well, number one, government has zero consistency on anything, you know. One day they're against nuclear war. Next day they're all for it. One day they're against separation of church and state. Next day they're all for it. One day they're against segregation. Next day they're all for it. All sorts of stupid shit. Okay, well, you can't trust something that's not consistent because you never know what it's going to change into the next day. So that's impossible. So even in your own personal relationships, though, you wouldn't trust that someone's going to change just because you ask them to. And maybe they will. Pretty much doubt it. But usually it takes a change on your end of things, you know, even possibly in the approach, the method. All right. And this works personally too. It's like a lot of times people don't change, and the environment you're dealing with that's bad doesn't change until you change. That's 99.999% of it. So protesters, if you really, really want change, guess what? It ain't going to work. It's not going to work. You'll get a table scrap from the master. That's about it, at best. All right? But long term, you're not asking to change the entire system. Oh, you just want a part of it because the rest of your life is so nice and cushy. All right? Well, it's not all that nice and cushy when your fucking house gets burned down. The place you live, you can't even go back to one way or another, and you have to escape the place that you live just because there's something going on outside that you had no fucking clue was boiling under the surface because you've been a good little person. You can be all happy. And your family and your government and your military and all the things you believe in and news. Oh, they would lie. No, I'm going to send my kid to public school and blah, blah, blah. Fucking morons. This is what it gets you. You asked for it. You wanted it. Well, now it's here in your face. What are you going to do? Oh, that's right. You can't do anything. You can't do much. Or if you could, there's some things you could do. All right. But anyway, petitioning the master for table scrap, that's what protests are. And it's not going to change the system. That's what you think you're doing. We're going to change. We're going to protest. We're going to make ourselves heard. You're not going to change shit. What you do, though, is you do single yourself out as someone who I know doesn't think things through very well. That's a fact. And it also goes to show that you're unwilling to be the person. You know, I see this a lot with a lot of people who think they're great people, virtue signalers especially. I see this phrase, this sentence that Gandhi said about be the change you expect in the world. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're not, though. You don't have that level of commitment. You don't want that level of responsibility. Be the change. Okay. So all you protesters, Here's an idea. Instead of protesting something that's wrong, why don't you create something that's right? And that doesn't mean being tolerant to fucking stupid shit. That's what most of you have done. Be like, oh, they were raised in an impoverished and unprivileged situation, so therefore we need to blah, blah, blah. All right. Did you know that most people that commit sexual predatory acts, whether that be rape, molestation, all that type of stuff, did you know the statistical history of those people as far as them coming from the self-same background? In other words, that if a person, got molested, and there's outliers, if a person was molested as a child, their chances of doing that same thing are extremely high by way of comparison to people who've never had that experience. It's a familiarity issue, and a lot of other things too, but that's part of it. Okay? So, does it excuse it? Well, it excuses it as long as it doesn't happen to you. Does it excuses as long as it's not your shit that got burnt down. Okay, but well, now when it's your shit that got burnt down, and all of a sudden, the government change. Fuck off. How about you protect your own shit? It's pretty simple. Just draw the line in the sand. Be like, no, I don't give a shit what you're going to lose everything anyway, you dumb shit. Go to jail for it. Who fucking cares? What else you got to live for? Some fake world? That's what you've been living in. Now you get a little taste of reality up the ass. It's a little bit surprising when all the shit that used to be just isn't there anymore simply because a guy gets killed. Well, people die all the time. As far as the black community goes, guess what? You're going to fucking hate this, but you guys are killing each other left and right. It's massive. Check out Atheism is Unstoppable. Colin Flaherty. All right? You want a real taste of that? Go get some verbal bitch slappage from those two. They'll lay out the statistics for you. So don't sit there and tell me it's about someone getting killed. It's the brutality you asked for. It's the brutality you invite. Because until you personally choose to be free and be personally responsible, you will not allow them to be free and personally responsible. And that's the only way that you're ever going to avoid these things. Now, I mean, when I say avoid, they wouldn't happen. I mean, I tell you what, government program after government program after government program, you take government completely out of this, completely out of it. Okay, number one, you wouldn't have a police force running around just looking for stupid shit to do. Okay. Number two, someone decides to try and slip you a counterfeit bill. Well, it gives you the right to go out and burn their fucking car to the ground. Okay. And you know what? When you can immediately react and that person's the oppressor's, situation, the person trying to victimize someone else, because that's how it all started. The person that was trying to victimize someone else, all right, if they have to put their personal shit on the line to get away with what they're getting away with or trying to get away with, guess what they don't do? They don't attempt it to begin with. They're like, it ain't fucking worth it. Free society, it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be. Number one, you wouldn't have any desire to, because the value that you add would be worth getting the value that you get or can get, and you'd be able to trade evenly. Not a big fucking deal. The other big part of it, too, is that there wouldn't be the need for the external forces to come in and try to mitigate what's already a fucked up situation. I mean, you just keep one thing after another, after another, after another. If people were let to be free, just maximum fucking freedom. Negotiate among yourselves. Okay. Well, it's a whole different ballgame if you want to try and cheat someone, if you know that there's no way that you're going to get away with it. No fucking way. And you're going to end up paying way higher of a price than what you expected or than what you think. And that's the norm. So the dissuasion to even attempt it, it's fucking useless. What would be the point? And I know that there's a whole bunch of pushback against that. Who gives a shit? It just means you're not thinking. All right. So anyway, the whole protest thing. Okay, protest all you want. You're not looking to change the system. How? How do I know? Because you're not trying to create anything new. You're trying to create something new within the system that exists. But nobody's coming up with a solution. All right, solution is freedom. Free society. Don't see you getting together saying that. No, it's just outrage, moral indignation. Oh, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to virtue signal that I'm somebody, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing something about it. You ain't doing shit. All right, how do I know you're not doing shit? Because at the same time that you're using one program after another, you're also condemning, the other programs that are connected to the body unit. Well, that's fucking retarded. All right, so now you get to the people who are willing to be violent. Now we got something a little bit more useless to work with. All right. So, willing to be violent, willing to steal, pillage, break shit. Well, you dumbasses, you're doing the same thing. Well, you want a real revolution? That's what it's about. No revolution. NoRevolution.com. Anyway, if you want change, you have to offer something else. And there's only two ways to make this happen. If you really, really want change, you have to bring in something different, which means you have to eradicate what used to be. It's going to be a situation where you're going to have to come in with your guns, with weapons, with mass force. All right? And if you think that the orchestration of what's going on, if you think that what's coming is better, if you think that you're rioting and all this type of stuff is going to bring something better for you as an individual, now history's going to be looking at you personally and being like, you motherfuckers, you're the ones that paved the way for another couple 100 million people to be sent off to genocide camps. And mark my words on that. Definitely. That's where I think it's headed, but, go fuck yourselves. Anyway, situation being, if you're willing to be all fucking violent, all that type of stuff, organize. All right, other than that, you're just another pisser in the pot. And you're pretty bad at it, too, by the way. Bricks, fucking lighting stores on fire. You want change. Oh, this government sucks. You need another one. I don't disagree that it sucks, okay? So make another one. Get rid of this one. Organize your shit. Okay, that takes weapons, takes guns, takes all that type of stuff. But why do I know? Because that's the only way you're going to get permanent change. You're going to have to eradicate the entire system. No, I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm telling you what you're doing doesn't work. All right? If you're that upset, the change needs to be made. All you're doing is pissing off the master and making life pissy for us, the people who aren't involved in it particularly. I mean, I am, but I'm on this side of the spectrum doing my thing here. Trying to make that change in a different way, Not trying to petition no government, not trying to tell you, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Trying to get the average person, black, white, Asian, I don't give a fuck who you are, to think. To learn how to fucking think. To get your head out of the goddamn sand. Realize you're being played. 100%. Most people play themselves. It's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, you really want change, you're going to have a complete revolution. You're going to have to overthrow this government. Okay? And the reason that I know that is because it's happened before, and there's only two ways to make it happen. Okay, one's peaceful, one's not. Well, if you're willing to break shit and all that type of stuff, now the protesters, they think that they're doing it peaceful. They're not. They ain't got a fucking clue. They're not going to change anything. Now, you guys who decide to riot, you guys decide to burn shit. Oh, well, this is the only way our voice can be heard. Well, if you want your voices to be heard, it means that you want change. Well, you ain't going to get it. Because look at what you're trying to change. The same thing that slaves you. So, fuck off. That's stupid. Start something new. All right? And that's what I say. You got to organize. All right? You got to get your shit together. But that means you're going to have to be personal responsibility. Take personal responsibility. Not the way I would advise, but yeah, overthrow the fucking government. That's how you're going to get your change. But at the same time, now this is the stupidity of your actions. This is where I come to the rioters and looters. Say you win. Say the government just stands down. It's all hypothetical, but just say it does. Just say it backs off 100%. It's not there anymore. The cops aren't there anymore. Nobody's there anymore. You ain't got nobody. Nobody to be mad at, other than Whitey. Of course, you're going to be mad at them anyway. But what if Whitey just fucking picks up and books out? Okay, there you got it. got what you wanted. All right. Government shut down, blah, blah. Well, Whitey ain't going to pick up and book out. That's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But you're too dumb to understand that, most of you. And I'm being pretty blunt about it. Government backs down and just folds up. What have you got? I mean, literally, what have you got? Okay? Particularly Minneapolis. You're a city of millions. You have very little food. Okay? Because if it all fucking crumbles, those trucks ain't coming in anymore. Not with all the food. The water system's going to get shut down. You know how many of you are going to die? You know, oh, you're going to steal a car and get out of there. And go where? Where, to Whitey's neighborhood? You think they're going to put up with it? Government isn't going to protect you anymore. And those white folks who live out in the suburbs and out in the country, you know what they've got? Lots of them. A lot more guns than you got, and they're better organized. Always have been. Just the way it is. Okay, so rioters, looters, whatever. And there's plenty of white people in there too, you idiots. You know, you're all idiots. If it actually all crumbles to the ground, and say you somehow miraculously pick it up and rebuild it with your new government that puts black people on top, because supposedly you're on the bottom, okay? Look at all the shit you're going to have to rebuild that you just destroyed. Quite literally. I mean, way to shoot yourself in the foot. Now, personally, I'd say, hey, more power to you. You know, give it a shot. And then see how many pissed off people that you have to deal with from there on in, because there's going to be a lot of them, and they're going to be really, really organized. So your brand new government that you come in with, and somehow or another you miraculously create it and all that type of stuff, you're going to come to find out the same exact thing. That centralized systems of power, when you are dealing with huge masses of people, they don't stand a chance. So here's a good example of when you're right, you're right. And you know what? The people that went in and burned and looted and did all that type of stuff, you're right. You're right in the aspect of what you've proved is just how ineffective government is, or police are, at protecting shit. They can't. They don't have enough people. They don't have enough people. They don't have enough firepower. They ain't got enough of nothing, all right, in order to stop you from doing it. And the thing that you don't seem to understand is if you take over and you get all those resources, well, guess what? You're going to be facing the same shit. It's just going to be a reverse in color. And there's not a goddamn thing you guys are going to be able to do about it either. Because nobody is taking personal responsibility for anything in any of this. But you don't fucking think that far ahead. And that's not the only thing. I mean, I can keep on going on and on and on and on. But what a dumb way to try and get change. So, at the end of it all, you know, the one way that you could is you could say, okay, I'm just not gonna participate. That's what I say is probably about the best and most effective solution. And that's why I talk about things the way I talk about them, is just don't participate. You know, if you really, really want change, start talking about personal responsibility and thinking for yourselves. Now, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, what color you are, or anything like that. It's not the point. The point is, if you want something to change, it has to start from within. It has to start from something that you build personally. And I am a firm believer that just about anybody can do an awful lot in all of these different types of things. But the long game's not an easy one to play. Never has been. Never will be. But just like, I mean, you stop and think about it. You know, boys in the military, you know, they just go do what they're told. Well, even when they're told to do something completely fucking stupid, this is one of my friends was just bringing this up, with different leaders that decide to put basically, you know, hey, go blow these fucking people up, but I'm going to change the rules of engagement so you can't shoot at them when they're shooting at you. All right, well, that's pretty fucking stupid. Well, the question I would have is, personally, why did you tolerate it? You know, it ain't going to change. Oh, it changed when the leadership changed. Oh, yeah. So again, you're not being personally responsible. You're putting yourself in really stupid fucking positions to be told by stupid people what to do. Now, that people might be stupid, but they're not lacking cunning. They never were. All right? They know exactly what they're doing when it comes to how to control you, and you're falling for it 100%. And that's what I'm seeing happen with most of them. You know, out here in the hinterlands, I see people complaining about, you know, the curfews, the lockdown, and all that other type of crap. Well, why are you going along with it? What are you afraid of? You know, literally. Okay, as big as guys talk, it's hilarious, you know, but it also goes to show their own lack of leadership. Soon as this city said anything about, oh, you have to be indoors by whatever, or you're going to get a fucking fine, what every man should have done is said, fuck off, I'm calling all my friends, we're getting all our ammunition together, well, not all of it, but, you know, a significant number, all our big old pickup trucks and whatever else, or BMWs, whatever the fuck we drive out here in the suburbs, and getting together in a parking lot at a business that's been shut down earlier than what it needs to be, actually during a prime time area for some of them, for certain types of sales. And she just said, no, we're law-abiding citizens, because that's such a fucking smart thing to do. Just say no. And if a police officer or the entire force decided to come up and say, oh, no, we're going to put you all under arrest, be like, no, wait a second, there's 4,500 of us, and there's 20 of you. You lay one fucking finger on one of my friends, and we're here to defend this town from tyranny. Both tyranny from outside and tyranny from inside. Because government is supposed to be our servant, not the other way around. You don't tell us what to do in our own town. That's the way it should have gone down. Did I see one single person make a comment like that here? No. Now, I'm not saying that some people haven't. I've heard recently that some people in some other towns have. And good on them. Good on them. Because that's what it should be. Because you're not, I mean, if you're not allowed to defend your own property, and this comes to everybody, you know, the rioters, looters, protesters, whatever, how'd you like it? You just went through all that work of busting down some windows at Target or whatever the fuck it is that you decided to loot. You grab a bunch of shit that you know you're going to be able to sell and make some money on, some value. Okay, so you put yourself at some risk, you know, and then what if you walked outside and somebody just shot your ass just so they could take your shit because they looked at it and says, wait a second. Look at all the work it takes to run into a store, find where the good shit is, and, you know, run back out. Well, the more efficient guy is going to sit there and be like, nah, that's fucking inefficient. I'm just going to sit here with a gun, and everybody that comes out, you know, or me and my friends, we're going to sit here with a lot of guns, actually, and we're just going to shoot people that come out with stuff because it's going to be the better stuff and the more sellable stuff. You know, I mean, come on, people, think a little bit about your actions. Like, come on, get some efficiency going on here. But you don't, you know, and don't tell me, oh, you care about their lives. No, you don't care about their lives anymore, and I care about your life. You care about mine. I don't even know you. I wish I did, you know. Maybe we could have, you know, some kind of a conversation about, you know, where things go, where it doesn't. But that's not how it works. And it's all coming back to conditioning. We've all been conditioned to live in a society where we have to fit in, where conformity far outweighs and trumps basically anything. You know, the ability to do what you're told effectively is praised. That's wow. I really don't ever want a pat on the back for being a good person that did what I was told effectively. It's like, well, no, wait a second. I want to be a pat on the back for someone who comes up with some new fucking ideas and creates some shit. Be like, oh, that's pretty fucking creative. I couldn't do that. All right, thanks. I appreciate that. Not, oh, you did what you're told and you do it fast. Good for you. Oh my God. You kidding me? That's death. Right there. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet. It's true. Anyway, that's about it. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but that's what I'm seeing is you got protesters out there. No, we're peaceful. Yeah. You're also benign. You know, the last thing, the the last thing that's afraid of you is change. Good for you. You know, change should be massively afraid of protesters, but it's not. It's like, I don't have to change. Not gonna have to. You know, government's not afraid of you either. Looters, rioters, people willing to do violence because they want to pretend to be upset over something. Government's not afraid of you either. You're doing exactly what they want them to. Because they also know all you're looking for is a system of power and brutality. And man, I tell you what, there's nothing better at it than government. Nothing better at it. So if you think that power and brutality are something, you got a lesson coming. Definitely. And you could learn a thing or two from, you really want to be effective at power and brutality. Start a public school system. Train them young, Get a news network that pumps your propaganda. You can get people to believe anything. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, that's just some thoughts, Other than that, I really, again, for me, this was a pretty reluctant thing because it exposes a lot of how I feel about, and I don't have a problem being exposed about how I feel about stuff. But it really is a kind of one of those things. It's like, well, what the fuck? Talking to dead people is what it usually is. People who are always looking for someone else to come in and fix shit. Whether it be the cops, the government. Oh, they need to do something about this. We need change. We need a different president. Okay. You got a piece of shit car driving you through the ditch 24/7 all the time, and you're going to blame the fucking driver. Literally. I mean, you will. And you think he's going to drive some different way because the whole purpose of the fucking car is to drive you through the ditch all the time. Never on a fucking smooth road. Oh, and it's going to get less comfortable. That's a fact. And you could see this in so many different things. But you don't. It's unbelievable. So having conversations like this with a lot of people, for me, it's just annoying in a lot of areas. And I'm thankful if you bothered listening to it or a part of it one way or another in that aspect. But if anything, I hope you fucking get annoyed too. And maybe you look at things a little bit differently because it's just fucking retarded from the ground up. And until you're willing to be, my neighbor did mention something here. There are certain neighborhoods where both cops and strangers are being kicked out of the neighborhoods. They're being like, no, they're getting checked out bit by bit. One at a time, being like, hey, if your car that's, full of people who aren't usually here in this neighborhood, you need to get out. We don't know who the fuck you are. You're not around here, And the same thing has happened to some police officers just standing around. Being like, no, we don't need you here in this neighborhood. You can't protect us anyway. This situation is living proof of that. But we don't know you and we don't want you here. And they're uncovering some interesting things. Like some of these cops ain't really cops, anymore. Or haven't been for a while. Some of them are, but they're doing shit that they don't need to be doing in neighborhoods that they don't need to be in. All right? Let people protect themselves. Let them take care of their own. It's about the only way that you're ever going to get a true balance of, power, of equality, et cetera, between the races, between the classes, between the genders and all that type of stuff. Let them figure it out amongst themselves without government intervention. You'd be surprised at what can happen. Because the only reason this is occurring right here, right now, is explicitly due to government intervention. The guy that got murdered by the cop, well, years back, he decided to do, from what I understand, some breaking and entering and all that type of stuff. Well, if the people that were broken into, if they had the right to defend their shit, guy would have been shot right there, killed. Okay, end of story. And that would have been how things got taken care of. Why? Because you don't need government to figure out that taking other people's shit ain't right. But, fuck it. It's all about what happened right here, right now. Um, it's, it's retardation. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. No Revolution, norevolution.com. This is interesting podcast. Wonder how, or whatever, YouTube cast. I'm interested to see how long YouTube tolerates this one being up, because I think this one's going to get flagged and my channel will probably be shut down after a whole freaking 6 episodes. But anyway, you guys have fun out there. Hope you enjoy it. Comment the shit out of this page. Hate me like you wouldn't believe. Here's a fact. If you hate what I'm having to say, if you disagree with it 100%, it's probably because I'm doing something right. And you're just dealing with freaking confirmation bias. At this point in time, I just think it's stupid. It's kind of like, don't you have something bigger to worry about? But there really isn't anything bigger to worry about other than your own life, your own liberty, your own property, and ways that you can figure out how to effectively defend that for yourself, how to keep it, and also how to exercise the rights of other people to keep their stuff too, without some thug coming in, whether that be in a costume or whether that be any other individual coming in trying to steal it. So anyway, have fun. Like and subscribe if you would, please. Sure, this one's going to get a whole bunch of, flip-offs and whatever. I've been dealing with it my whole life. You have fun out there. Take care.